Why is nobody in the media talking about the fact that the CFO of Therme, the company that's building a spa on Ontario Place, used to work for a company that bought Doug Ford's Deco Label company? So last year, the Chicago location of Doug Ford's Deco Label company was purchased by a company called Ares. After Rob Ford died, in order to make sure that Rob Ford's widow didn't have access to the company, Doug Ford and Randy Ford split up the business. Doug Ford getting 100% ownership of Chicago and Randy getting 100% ownership of Toronto. Also, in direct violation of him being the premier and him having to put all of his businesses in a trust, Doug Ford was actually still listed as the president of this company up until a few years ago. And this company was purchased by Ares Management. Now meet Adrian Ion, the new CFO of Therme, who prior to working at Therme was the finance director at Ares Management. This adds to the fact that we found out that in January of 2021, which was months before the announcement of the Therme plant, Doug Ford had promised Therme that he would build a $500 million parking garage for them. During the peak of the worst wave of the pandemic, when Doug Ford was saying that our hospitals couldn't be funded because we didn't have the money for it and he was begging the federal government for money, he promised $500 million to a foreign business to build a spa on Ontario Place. And Therme, by the way, had hired Amir Remtula to be a lobbyist for them. And that name should be familiar because he was Rob Ford's former chief of staff, who not only later went on to work for Doug Ford, but he was also hired as a lobbyist by TAC, which was one of the companies that made billions of dollars during the Greenbelt land swap. So let's look at a timeline. Sometime between September of 2019 and July of 2020, Adrian Ion left Ares as a financial director to become the CFO of Therme. Between 2019 and 2020, Amir Remtula was lobbying for both TAC and for Therme. In January of 2021, Ford promised Therme that he was going to build a $500 million parking garage for the spa. This was before they had been given the contract, and Ford was supposed to be considering multiple offers as to what to do with Ontario Place. Sounds like he already had something in mind. In July of 2021, that is when Therme announced to build a spa on Ontario Place. Then in October of 2022, Ares purchased Deco Labels from Doug Ford. It should also be noted that according to Rob Ford's widow, the business had been losing millions of dollars, which while that hasn't been proven in court, if that is the case, Doug Ford essentially sold a floundering business in exchange for a $500 million parking garage to a foreign entity. Listen, maybe I'm grasping at straws and there is no conspiracy here, but if we had said the same thing about the Greenbelt, we wouldn't have found out everything that we know now. So tag some journalists in this. Send this to people who can actually do the investigation because this isn't my job. This is my job. And where there is smoke, there's fire, and I am smelling a lot of smoke right now.